First of all, congratulations to all the individual Distinguished Engineering Alumni Award winners tonight. This will be a day that you'll never forget. And welcome to the club. I was lucky enough to receive my individual award back in 2008. On behalf of all the founders and all the families, I really want to thank the College of Engineering for this tremendous recognition. I want to thank the faculty and the leadership for having the foresight and the devotion to our cause to present us with this very first team award. I tried to find out whose idea it was, but no one will tell me. So. I'd also like to thank the Minority Engineering Program here at Purdue, who has supported the NSBE mission for the past 50 years. I'd like to thank the Purdue for Life Foundation, who has been so involved in pulling together this entire weekend of events, including the dedication of the actual room where the first meeting of the National Society of Black Engineers was held back in 1975. There are a lot of other acknowledgments that I have to make. There's so many here. It's only going to take 30 or 40 minutes, so bear with me. I feel though as though I have to say the name of the founders that are no longer with us. The late Dr. Arthur Bond, and you met his sister Carolyn in his honor. The late Stanley L. Kirtley, who's here not only with his widow Emma, but his two sons, Stan J. and Richie, all feel like family. The late John Wesley Logan, who's represented by his wife Marilyn. And the godfathers of NSBE, the late Ed Barnett, whose wife Camille, or widow Camille, could not be here, and Fred Cooper, who is not late, he's just not here this afternoon. Dr. Sonny Taylor was another name who's I feel I have to mention, in that she was so instrumental in crossing the T's and dotting the I's and helping make that first conference the memorable event it was. I'd like to acknowledge all of our families and friends from Chicago and from California that came out to be with us this evening. Thank you for making the trip and for supporting us. In fact, I got to mention our wives that are here. Emma and Marilyn you met, but Melody Coleman is here. Stephanie Smith is here. And my wife, my partner, my best friend, love of my life, Angela, is here. You know, back in 1975, we also had other supporters and allies whose DNA is mixed in with the National Society of Black Engineers. President Arthur Hansen, who, when I first talked to him about the idea of a national body, was so supportive, and who directed me to speak to then Dean of Engineering, John Hancock, whom, when he heard that the president was behind it, suggested that I meet with Dr. Harold Amrine. Harold Amrine at that time was the head of freshman engineering, and he pulled together a meeting with Dr. Bond, Tommy X. Fletcher, later Tomaine Rashid, and myself, and when we pitched the whole idea, the concept that we as the founders had come up with, he agreed to match our funds so that we could afford to house and feed and transport all these other students to the campus. Marion Blaylock, yeah, that's it. This is our heritage I'm talking about. Marion Blaylock and Virginia Booth are the godmothers of NSBE. Marion spent 30 years supporting NSBE students both here at Purdue and nationally. And my sister from another mister, Virginia Booth Womack, who currently heads the Minority Engineering Program here at Purdue and also serves with me on the National Advisory Board. You know, NSBE's been around 50 years, and for an organization to last that long, it must have a very compelling mission. And our mission is to increase the number of culturally responsible Black engineers who excel academically, succeed professionally, and positively impact the community. Are there any of the charter members here that were at that very first meeting? If so, raise your hands, be recognized. How about the Nesby Purdue chapter members? Any of those here? You know, for the first 10, 15 years of our organization's life, we really focused exclusively on the first half of that mission, to increase the number and to excel academically. And we put together trips back to our high schools to encourage students behind us to pursue engineering at Purdue and other places. We put in place study groups and help sessions. We put in place mentor programs to increase matriculation rates and retention rates. We put summer camping conferences in place, and we put career fairs in place to increase graduation rates. We did all that because no one else was doing it. There was no outreach, there was no support back in those days for disadvantaged students or students from a different background. But as time went on, the government and companies and universities embraced the notion of diversity and equity and inclusion, and put in place minority engineering programs, and put in place targeted scholarships to help those of us that couldn't afford to come. And it was so successful that Nesby broadened our mission, our vision, to focus on the second half of our mission statement, to succeed professionally and to positively impact the community. We invested in full-time paid professional staff. We invested in World Headquarters building in Alexandria, Virginia. We put in place special interest groups and created our own scholarships to make sure that our students were supported regardless of the atmosphere. Well, it appears as though the pendulum may be swinging back the other direction, as pendulums sometimes do. But this award, this recognition this weekend, shows me that Purdue University has not walked away from its commitment to diversity. We'll figure out ways to do it differently, and we'll figure out ways to do it together. And I want you to know that makes me happy, and it makes me proud. Thank you very much.